Hello, I'm Zia Morales, and I work in finance and private sector development at the World Bank. This week, we've opened up the spring meetings with social media, as well as some of your questions from all over the world. And joining me today to answer a few of your questions is Reeta Roy, who is President and CEO of the MasterCard Foundation. The MasterCard Foundation works with partners across the developing world on youth education and microfinance. Thanks for joining me, Reeta.
Thank you.
Now, our first question is from Somalia. The MasterCard Foundation is involved in microfinance, youth education, and economic development. Can you talk a bit about the lessons you have learned from your interventions and achievements over the past 3 years?
Thank you for your question. We are still learning. We currently work in 48 developing countries, and more than half of them are across the continent of Africa. And currently working through our partners, these projects fund about 3.3 million beneficiaries. There are several things which I can talk about. The first is, in terms of learning, is how important it is to listen, and especially to listen to clients of microfinance institutions, and particularly where it comes to working with young people, to listen to them, and to listen to them at the beginning when we're designing projects, when we're delivering them, and when we're evaluating them. A critical learning for us as well in terms of the substance of what we do is that clients want financial services, but the number one thing that they want is not credit, it's savings, and it's access to a safe, affordable, private place where they can save money. And when it comes to working with young people, what is so important, in addition to education and skills, it's fundamentally very important to package that with mentoring, guidance, and other forms of social support.
And that ties in quite nicely to the next question, which is from Nigeria. You work a lot in youth education. Can you talk a little bit about how relevant financial education is to developing countries?
It's essential, particularly when it comes to working on a continent like Africa, where more than 70% of the population is under the age of 30. We need to make sure that young people not only have access to financial services, but they also know how to use those services. And that knowledge is that combination of knowledge and access is extremely powerful in enabling young people to take control of their lives, to be able to save, to make future plans, whether it's for education, whether it's to start a business, or whether it's to secure their families.
Now, are you ever too young to learn about financial education
We have seen programs as young as 5, 6 years old, and it starts with very simple concepts, such as in terms of savings. They may not have a savings account, but they can think about conserving water, conserving electricity. But it's the same concept which gets passed on, which they then can pass on to others.
Cool. And the next question is from Africa as well. It's from Zambia. The question is, how can microfinance empower African youth?
Oh, it's probably a very similar concept as well. I think that there are many tools which could be used to empower and to enable young people to have self-esteem and confidence in terms of how they conduct their lives. But again, it comes back to having the knowledge as well as access to the tools to be able to take charge and make plans. And again, whether it's about saving for an education, saving for a business, but really thinking about the future.
And the next question, also from Africa, from Eritrea. It's pretty topical if you've been following the debates in the news these days. The question is, how has microfinance alleviated poverty in the developing world?
It's an incredibly great question, and it's a question which is probably the best thing that has happened to the microfinance sector, because it's made everyone take pause and think about what is the impact of financial services on the lives of the poor. There is no magic bullet, no silver bullet in terms of a poverty alleviation. Microfinance is just one tool, along with a range of tools such as housing, food security, education, which actually help people build their own capacity to make their own choices and to be able to find their own pathways out of poverty. What I would say, though, is we hear all the time, and I hear all the time from young people when I travel across Africa, how much they would like to be able, again, to have control over their lives, and whether it's through education or access to financial services, these are very, very important tools.
And both things that MasterCard Foundation works on.
Absolutely, both things that we work on.
Yeah, and the last question from Nigeria, what skills do African youth need to succeed in the global marketplace? And how do we make sure that they get those skills?
It's a great question. In a globalized economy, young people today are going to be connecting with young people across the world. And so it's extremely relevant that they have good communication skills, understand how to work with people who may have very, very different worldviews than their own. They need to understand the concepts around teamwork, and nearly everyone, I think, needs to have access to and be fluent in terms of using computer ICT technologies. In terms of getting that to them, there are probably a number of channels. For those who are still in school, it's about making sure that school curriculums are relevant to the current global economy and the job opportunity. For those who are out of school, it's looking for different vehicles, non-formal learning, youth centers, working with different NGOs to be able to equip them with skills which are relevant for job opportunities in their home country.
Yeah, and I think what you just said will certainly resonate with a lot of people who are watching, so I'd like to thank you for participating in this very interesting discussion, and thank you for watching World Bank Live.